Ever get the feeling that someone is just too good to be true? You know, like there's something lurking beneath that charming smile.
Mm-hmm.
That's the unsettling feeling I get when you start digging into the story of William Felix Vail.
Right.
This guy was suspected of killing 3 women
Wow.
over several decades. And it all starts in Mississippi,
Okay.
seemingly tranquil backwaters of Mississippi. We're taking a deep dive into the life and crimes of this suspected serial killer today, using an article from CityTowner called "The Chilling Case of Serial Killer William Felix Vail from Montpelier, Mississippi."
Yeah, it's a case that really makes you question how well you can ever truly know someone. I mean, Vail was convicted
Uh-huh.
for the murder of his first wife, Mary Horton Vail. But there are 2 other women
Right.
connected to him, Sharon Hensley and Annette Craver. And the circumstances around their disappearances remain shrouded in mystery.
And that's what we're going to try to untangle today.
Yeah.
The chilling details of each case,
Okay.
the disturbing patterns in Vail's relationships, and the long fight for justice
Wow.
that ultimately led to his conviction.
What's so fascinating about this case is that Vail wasn't some shadowy figure,
Right.
lurking on the fringes of society. He was born in 1939,
Okay.
raised on a dairy farm in Montpelier, Mississippi. The kind of place that evokes images of innocence,
Yeah.
and
Like
simplicity.
small town, rural life.
Exactly, exactly. But even in that seemingly idyllic setting,
Yeah.
there were cracks in the facade.
Cracks. Sounds more like a chasm. Some people who knew him back then described him as charming, almost magnetic, but others saw a completely different side to him.
Oh, really?
Menacing, even.
Oh, wow. What do you make of that?
Yeah, how do you reconcile those two things?
Well, it's a classic example of what psychologists call a duality of personality.
Oh, interesting.
And it's not uncommon in individuals who are capable of great deception.
Okay.
They can present a carefully crafted persona to the world, all while harboring dark secrets beneath the surface. And Vail's turbulent relationship with authority, even in his youth, hints at someone who felt they were above the rules, someone who might disregard the law if it suited them.
Okay, that's giving me chills already. So let's jump into his first marriage with Mary Horton in 1962. Their story takes a tragic turn almost immediately.
Really?
During a boat trip on the Calcasieu River in Louisiana,
Okay.
Vail claims she accidentally drowned, but something about his story just didn't sit right with Mary's family.
And they had good reason to be suspicious. Imagine finding out your loved one died under these circumstances only to discover a bruise on their neck.
Oh, wow.
The authorities at the time might have accepted Vail's explanation, but Mary's family never wavered in their belief that there was more to the story.
Right.
They sensed foul play from the start, and their intuition would prove to be tragically accurate decades later.
It's heartbreaking, really. They had to live with that uncertainty for years, all while carrying the weight of their suspicions.
Yeah.
But before we get into how Mary's case was eventually reopened, let's talk about Sharon Hensley.
Okay.
She enters the picture a few years later, becomes Vail's girlfriend.
Yeah.
From what I understand, she was described as a free spirit, someone who loved adventure.
And that's a detail worth noting. We often see abusers targeting individuals they perceive as vulnerable, perhaps someone who is less likely to be missed,
Okay.
or who has fewer people looking out for them.
That's a scary thought. So Sharon disappears in 1973 from Key West, Florida. And guess what Vail's explanation was?
If it's the same story he used for Mary's death, I'd wager he claimed she ran off to Mexico.
You nailed it. It's almost unbelievable that he would recycle the same excuse. And just like with Mary, there was no trace of Sharon. And her loved ones were left with this agonizing feeling that something terrible had happened.
2 women connected to Vail, both vanished without a trace, and both with him offering the same flimsy alibi.
Right.
The similarities are just too striking to dismiss as mere coincidence.
It's a chilling pattern, for sure. And it becomes even more disturbing when you consider Vail's next marriage to Annette Craver.
Okay.
She was just 17 years old when they married in 1983,
Wow.
while he was 44. That kind of age gap
Yeah.
immediately raises questions about power dynamics and the potential for manipulation.
Absolutely. That's a red flag.
Right.
That should always make us pause and consider the possibility of predatory behavior. And as you might have guessed, Annette also disappeared.
Oh, no.
The following year, in Denver, Colorado,
Okay.
Vail, once again, trotted out his go-to explanation: she ran off to Mexico.
It's almost like he had a script he followed each time. But thankfully, the families of these women refused to accept his lies.
Mm.
They knew deep down that he was responsible, and their determination to uncover the truth would eventually lead to his downfall.
Their persistence is truly remarkable. It's a reminder that even in the darkest of times, hope should never be abandoned. Sometimes justice can take decades to unfold, but it's that unwavering belief in the truth that keeps the flame of hope burning.
So while Vail seemed to have gotten away with his crimes for a while, the family's efforts to find answers, combined with the work of a determined investigative journalist, would ultimately change everything.
It's incredible to think that for over 50 years,
Yeah.
William Felix Vail lived a seemingly normal life.
Right.
While harboring these dark secrets,
Right.
he blended into communities,
Yeah.
held down jobs, even remarried.
It's unbelievable.
It makes you wonder how someone can compartmentalize their life to that extent.
Right. It's like leading a double life and a chilling reminder that appearances can be deceiving.
Mm-hmm.
But when you dig into the specifics of his relationships with these women,
Yeah.
a very clear and disturbing pattern emerges.
Absolutely. Control and manipulation were the hallmarks of Vail's relationships.
Okay.
He would isolate these women from their families and friends,
Right.
often moving them far away from their support systems. Wow. He exerted control over their finances, making them dependent on him. These are classic tactics used by abusers to establish dominance and make it harder for their victims to escape.
And it's particularly disturbing when you think about Annette Craver marrying him at such a young age.
Right.
Was he specifically seeking out vulnerable women?
It's certainly a possibility. Abusers often target individuals they perceive as easy to control or manipulate.
Okay.
Someone who is younger, less experienced, or perhaps going through a difficult time in their life can be more susceptible to these tactics.
It paints a very dark picture of his motives.
Yeah.
So for decades, the families of these women were left with this agonizing uncertainty,
Right.
believing that Vail was responsible but lacking the evidence to prove it.
Yeah.
What finally led to his arrest and conviction for Mary's murder.
A key turning point came in 2012 when an investigative journalist
Okay.
decided to take a fresh look at Mary Horton Vail's case.
Wow.
This journalist was relentless in their pursuit of the truth, digging through old records, interviewing people who knew the couple, and even consulting with forensic experts.
So this is a classic case of good old-fashioned investigative journalism,
Yes.
making a real difference.
Absolutely.
It's inspiring to see someone dedicating their time and energy to uncovering the truth, especially for a case that had gone cold for so long.
Exactly. This journalist's dedication is what ultimately cracked the case wide open.
Okay.
They uncovered crucial new evidence that had been overlooked or dismissed at the time of Mary's death,
Like what?
including a crucial piece of forensic analysis related to the life jacket she was wearing.
Oh, the life jacket?
That-
What was wrong with it?
Well, initially, the life jacket was used by Vail to support his claim of an accidental drowning.
Okay.
He insisted Mary was wearing it when she went overboard.
Right.
However, the journalist, working with a forensic expert, discovered that the life jacket showed signs of having been tampered with.
Really?
It appeared to have been ripped after Mary's death,
Oh, wow.
likely in an attempt to stage the scene and make it look like an accident.
Wow. That's a chilling detail. So this new evidence, combined with the family's persistent advocacy, finally led to Vail's arrest in 2013,
Mm-hmm.
and ultimately his conviction in 2016 for Mary's murder.
Wow.
It's a testament to the power of persistence, both on the part of the families and the journalist, who refused to let this case fade into obscurity.
Absolutely. And it also highlights the importance of forensic science in solving crimes,
Right.
especially those that have gone cold.
Mm-hmm.
Advancements in DNA analysis, forensic pathology, and other technologies have revolutionized criminal investigations,
Yeah.
allowing us to re-examine old evidence with new tools and techniques.
It's incredible how technology can help us uncover the truth, even decades after a crime has been committed.
It is.
But what about Sharon Hensley and Annette Craver?
Mhm.
Will their cases ever be solved?
It's certainly possible. While Vail was never charged in connection with their disappearances,
Right.
many believe he is responsible. And even though so much time has passed, investigators haven't given up hope.
That's good.
They continue to explore new leads and utilize advancements in forensic technology to see if they can uncover the evidence needed to bring closure to these cases.
It would be amazing if they could finally bring peace to their families.
It would.
Knowing what happened, even if it confirms their worst fears, would at least provide a sense of resolution.
And it would also serve as a reminder that no matter how much time has passed, justice can still be served.
Right.
These cases underscore the importance of never giving up hope
Mhm.
of continuing to push for answers and of holding perpetrators accountable for their actions, no matter how long it takes.
It's a powerful message. But even with Vail behind bars, there's a sense of lingering unease.
Yeah,
Statistically speaking, serial offenders rarely stop on their own.
right.
Is it possible there are other victims out there?
Mm.
Women whose stories haven't yet been told. That's a truly unsettling thought. It makes you wonder just how many other lives might have been impacted by this man. And it also raises the question, what drives someone to commit such horrific acts?
It's a question that has fascinated criminologists and psychologists for centuries.
Yeah.
There's no single answer, of course. Serial killers are often driven by a complex interplay of factors, psychological, social, even biological.
Right.
Some experts believe that a lack of empathy combined with a deep-seated need for power and control plays a significant role.
So in Vail's case, this pattern of isolating and controlling the women in his life wasn't just about possessiveness. It was about fulfilling a deeper, darker need for domination.
That's a plausible theory. By exerting control over their victims, serial offenders often derive a sense of satisfaction, even pleasure. It feeds their distorted sense of power and reinforces their belief that they are above the law, above societal norms.
That's incredibly disturbing.
Yeah.
But it also makes a kind of twisted sense. It's like they're playing a game, and the stakes just keep getting higher with each victim.
And that's why it's so important for law enforcement agencies to share information and collaborate on cases like this.
Right.
By identifying patterns and connecting the dots, they can potentially stop these offenders before they claim more victims.
It's like putting together a giant puzzle.
Yeah.
Each piece of information, no matter how small or seemingly insignificant, could be the key to solving the larger mystery.
Exactly.
And speaking of unsolved mysteries, let's circle back to Sharon Hensley and Annette Craver.
Okay.
What are the chances that even after all these years, their cases might still be solved?
Well, it's certainly a long shot, but not entirely impossible. Cold cases can be incredibly challenging, but there have been some remarkable breakthroughs in recent years,
Right.
thanks to advances in forensic technology.
I'm thinking about those DNA databases that are helping to crack cases that had gone cold for decades.
Yeah.
Could something like that play a role in these investigations?
It's definitely a possibility. Even a tiny trace of DNA evidence that might have been overlooked years ago could now be analyzed and potentially linked to Vail. And then there's the potential for digital forensics. Emails, social media posts, online searches, all of that can be incredibly valuable in reconstructing a timeline and uncovering hidden connections.
So while it's been over 40 years since Sharon vanished and 30 years since Annette disappeared, there's still a glimmer of hope that their stories might have a final chapter, a chapter that brings their families some measure of closure.
And that's really what it comes down to in the end, isn't it? The pursuit of justice is about more than just punishing the guilty. It's about providing answers to those who've been left behind, helping them to piece together the shattered fragments of their lives and find a way to move forward.
And it's a reminder that we can all play a part in seeking justice, whether it's by supporting victims' families, advocating for stronger laws, or simply by being more aware of the warning signs of abuse and speaking up when we see something that doesn't seem right.
Exactly. It's about creating a culture of vigilance and accountability where these kinds of crimes are less likely to occur in the first place. And it's about never forgetting the victims, honoring their memories by working to prevent future tragedies.
Well said. The story of William Felix Vail is a chilling reminder of the darkness that can lurk beneath the surface of even the most seemingly ordinary lives. But it's also a testament to the resilience of the human spirit, the unwavering pursuit of justice, and the power of hope that even in the darkest of times, the truth will eventually prevail. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.